All right. Hello, everybody. This is long day. My name is Ben, and this is part 7 in a series where we implement a DSL for UI testing in Rust. In the last video, we got the very basic structure of an interpreter up and running. It's still got a bunch of to-do statements in it, right? But we were able to run a schnauzer UI script, which is super exciting. What I want to do in this video is basically go through the interpreter until there's no more to do macros. And if that's the case, then theoretically we can, but really I want to get the interpreter to a state to where theoretically we can run any schnauzer UI script with the syntax we've described so far. There's actually still stuff we might want to add to it, but with what we've described so far, what we're parsing, I want to be able to run all of that, and that's actually going to be a big task. So without further ado, we'll jump into it. Before we do that, I am going to fix one mistake I did happen to make at the end of the last video. That's the great thing about coding on videos. You get to watch yourself on camera making mistakes the whole time. So let me explain mine. We, at the end of the last video, or toward the end of the last video, I added this little chunk of code to the end of the locate method. And basically the idea was that after we locate an element, we want to scroll it into view. But of course, this code is not going to ever execute. Or it will execute. It will just execute on the wrong element. Basically, when we locate an element, we are setting it and then immediately returning true. So what I think I'm going to do is basically extract this and create a setter method for the current element field, and then this will get called from within the setter method. So I'm just going to say, honestly, we can put this up toward the top. We will need to start commenting and organizing fairly soon. Otherwise, cleaning it up will become a larger task than we want it to be. Let's add function set current element. And this is going to take a mute self, and it's actually just going to take a web element. But the idea is once we've located one web element, we basically want that to be the web element in view. So it does that. But it's actually going to return a WebDriver result. And if you're thinking how is setting, how are we going to fail to set a web element we've already found? Well, we're not, but we are going to try and scroll it into view as part of this function. And so we want to recognize that error if it occurs. So we have this idea of set current element, right? And when we do that, we want to first try and scroll the web element into view. So it's called element. So instead of this if let sum, we'll say let view equal, right? And we try to scroll it into view. This needs to be an async function. So we try to scroll the web element into view, and then we save whether or not that was successful by calling is okay on the result, and that sort of downgrades it to a Boolean. Actually, we don't have to downgrade it to a Boolean because we're returning a WebDriver result, so we can do that, right? And then we'll say self dot current element equals some element, and then we return okay. I think this is element. So what we're doing is the element we're provided. We try to scroll it into view, and we error if that fails. And then we're not actually doing anything with that. Let's do let's just return a Boolean. And then let's do is okay. And then let's return in view. And then in the locate command, instead of all this stuff, we can just return self dot set current element with the found element, right? And that will return the Boolean that we want to return. Expected unit. Oh, because I returned false down here. So we need to still have a return statement. Right. Yeah. Oh, I need to await that as well. Great. Thank you, compiler, for fixing everything for me. You do it every time. Let's do that one. Let's do that one. And then presumably, let's see, where the tests are running at localhost 1234/test1.html. Right, so presumably we'll be able to tell that this worked because Selenium has a really funny idea of scroll into view. So when it locates it, it should basically, well, it would scroll down if there was a way to scroll down. So we won't be able to tell if this is working right now. Maybe we'll put an element way down the page. Should we do that? Let's do that. Let's call this scroll into view test dot sui. Well, yeah, and then we'll just put it on the let's just call this smorgasbord. What's a better word? I don't want to type smorgasbord all the time. Let's call this playground. Playground.html. The idea being that rather than having an HTML file that corresponds to each test that we're running, we can just sort of have a playground with a bunch of different web elements. Actually, I hate that idea. That's going to get really disorganized. Let's call this test1.html again. And let's get rid of, or yeah, for scroll into test, so let's make scroll into view test dot HTML. So let's have an HTML file. This should say scroll into view test, and let's just have a div with a class of really long, right? Wow, so long. And what we'll do is we'll just have a style tag that sets the class really long to have a height of 150 viewport heights, right? And then after that, we'll have a button, yeah, with the text click me, but scroll, well, we'll just say click me. And then I'm going to copy, I've got this little JavaScript function for adding that little blue-green transition to the button. So let's copy that to the bottom of the body so it loads after the HTML. And then this needs to start out with a class of button blue. And we need the button blue and green classes. And who knows, maybe we will combine these. I don't really know. But okay, I'm going to stop serving for a moment, and I'm going to reserve from HTML. So, should now have, I'll go here. Yeah, we have a scroll into view test, right? So we have this element that's really long, and then if we scroll down, there's a button down here. So the idea is we should be able to write a schnauzer UI script that scrolls that button into view and then clicks it. So let's do that. So let's do the scroll into view test. Navigate to the test page. So this is going to be URL localhost 1234 / scroll into view test.html. Scroll into view test.html. Great. And then, oh, what did I call? Sorry. Yeah, okay, I said .html. And then let's try and click the button. Right, so we're going to want to locate, and the text of the button is click me with an exclamation point, right? Yeah. So we should be able to locate it and click it. And let's see if it scrolls into view. So if I go here, I can run my scroll into view test.schnauzer UI. Let's run it. So we should see a WebDriver get registered. There it is. So it navigated there, and it does not appear to have clicked the button. That's interesting. Oh. Why? Maybe it did click the button. Maybe my JavaScript's not working. Why isn't my JavaScript working? Because I gave the other button an ID of button. Okay. It's called button. There we go. Don't actually know. I'm going to see if that's a live reloading server. Do you have an ID of button now? No, you sure don't. Okay. reserve. Right, so presumably it did click the button. It's just that I forgot to give the button the ID to register it with the sort of JavaScript event listener. And we're gonna eventually consolidate these tests into like a unified runner. Yeah, so it clicked the button because it turned it green. Great. So we scrolled it into view and clicked it. Awesome. I guess now let's get to filling out the rest of the interpreter. Okay. So we have to-dos in the execute command, and then we have a to-do for set variable, and we have a to-do for if. Let's finish up the commands. Okay, so we'll do the easy ones. Refresh. Refresh is going to be easy. Let's do that. Self.refresh.await. Put async function refresh. Probably doesn't even need a mute self, but we're going to return Boolean. And then let's do self.driver.refresh.await is okay. Bam. Done. We can refresh. Let's try it. I'm going to run, after all this stuff, I'm going to refresh the page. And I don't think refreshing the page will clear the form fields, but I do think it will. It should reset the button color to blue after having been clicked. So let's do. I guess it's just we can just type refresh on its own. Yeah, we can do that. Let's call this test1.sui. The idea is that it will launch. There we go. Yeah, okay, so it did clear the field. So I don't know if you saw very briefly. It filled out everything, clicked the button, that made it green, and then it refreshed and everything went back again. Cool, so that's working. Let's do, okay, so I'm trying to do the easy ones first. Report's going to require reporting infrastructure. Try again's going to require error handling infrastructure. Screenshot's easy enough. Let's do screenshot. Self.driver.screenshot. And then we give it a path. We give the screenshot a path to save to. That takes a standard path. So we need to do, like, where is that? Is that standard FS path? Let's look at the 34 documentation. if we go to structs, WebDriver, and it's actually everything's part of this method session handle. We haven't used it yet, but for the record, all the web elements have access to a session handle. So you don't actually have to have access to a driver object to do these driver methods. You can just sort of do it from, you can call from a child element, which is nice. Screenshot. Switch to screenshot is PNG. PNG bytes. What does this do? I don't know. Nope, let's not do a separate window. I meant to do new tab. Okay, standard path equals new. Okay, and then it takes relative paths. No, this example does work on Windows. That's very useful. Thank you. Okay, so we'll do that. I guess we're going to be compiling this, and we will build an executable, and that's what we'll distribute. So I think what I want to do is, for now, we're just going to have it save in the directory it's running in, and then I have this idea of sort of global variables that exist. We're going to have some basically global variables for configuration. I don't know if they're going to be actual variables in the script, or if they're going to be, some kind of config file. But one of them that we'll probably offer people to set is, where do you want to save screenshots? And we'll have to, that'll be part of where do you want to save your test reports, because the screenshots are they're really going to be saved as part of reporting. Okay, yeah. So let's do, for the path, let's do let path equal standard path, and we'll do, probably want to do a timestamp. We could keep a counter. I mean, yeah, so we could do a timestamp of the screenshot, but as far as a test run, I don't think anybody really cares at what time the screenshot was taken. I think maybe we should just do a counter for the number of screenshots we've taken, and then that way we can say screenshot 1, screenshot 2, etc. Yeah, why not? Let's do and get and format /screenshot dot, what did I save it as? Dot text. Oh, and they don't say what the, so this does a PNG. What does this save it as? A JPEG? What's the, let's find out. Can we do that? And then we'll do self dot screenshot counter, which is a thing that doesn't exist. And then we'll do self.screenshot counter plus equals 1. And then we'll take a picture of the path, and let's do screenshot. And let's have a screenshot counter, which is a, I don't know, a U size, why not? And then let's start it at 1. What's your problem? Bool. Oh, this is an async function. Great. Screenshot counter on and mute interpreter. Take screenshot dot await dot is okay. Counter. No field screenshot counter. Counter. Haha. Temporary value dropped. Dadgummit. Let's path string equal this and do and path string. Aha. Okay. Great. So theoretically, we should be able to take a screenshot now, right? So let's, in our test 1, let's take a screenshot. Let's make this screenshot pre and post refresh, just so you can see. And we'll say screenshot and refresh and screenshot. So the idea is that before the refresh statement, the screenshot should show that we've filled out the fields and the button is green. Then after we refresh, the fields will be clear and the button will be blue again. So let's do that. So we'll wait for this to pop up. There it is. Right, and so it's done running. And you can see we have screenshots. So we have screenshot 1 from when it was filled out, and then we have screenshot 2 from after it refreshed. Great. I like it. Let's clean up here a little bit. Okay. I'm out of tea. That's sad. Now we have a report, we have try again, we have had error, and we have read to. Okay, so there's sort of 3 pieces of infrastructure we need to set up. We need to set up a reporting infrastructure, which is basically just going to let us log things. We need to set up an error handling infrastructure where, as we run commands, we need to sort of save the last time we checked for an error so that we can go back up there. I think that's going to be the most complex bit of this. And then we need to set up some infrastructure for variables. We need to have a place to basically just a hash map to keep track of our global variables. I think I want to do reporting first because I actually have an interesting idea. So we have a report keyword, and I'm good with that. What I'm thinking is we'll set up report infrastructure, and we'll have the ability to report. But I'm thinking that the comments in each test script. So I'm going to delete these screenshots. I'm thinking that the comments of a test script should also be reported, so that this basically, like, comments serve to organize your script, but then they also become a part of your report log. I think that could be nice. I think that could be good. And so the way we would do that is we'll actually have a concept of a comment token, which will, during scanning, we'll just scan in the string that comes after the hashtag, and then we'll have a comment statement built from that. And then when we execute a comment statement, all we'll do is we'll report to some report. So let's do that first. Let's set up a reporting infrastructure first. So we need to have a report. I don't necessarily want to do maybe I can add links to the screenshots as part of the report. I'm thinking I want to have a sort of log style report, but I want the screenshots to be a part of it, but maybe I'll do a link to the screenshot. We could also have like nice reporting. So we don't really have a concept of a test yet. We don't have a concept of some group of Schnauzer UI script code being a test that can pass or fail. So, and I'm not sure we want one. We might just want to have reports generated for each one. Interesting. Should it be an HTML report? No. Well, because we had this idea of like Cucumber generates JSON reports, and then other people can build their own sort of reporting facade on top of that. But I'm not even sure that's something. Maybe we don't want that. Let's get basic logging in, and maybe we'll do a video making really pretty reporting. Okay. Let's do a test log. We need to have logging. So Rust logging is interesting. You have this log facade, which is basically like a bunch of logging macros exposed as traits, I think. And the idea is that you import this, and then you also have some sort of implementer of the logging facade. So you have these are all implementers of the logging facade. Right, in order to produce log output, executables have to use a logger implementation compatible with the facade. There are many available implementations to choose from. Here are some of the most popular ones. We have environment logger, simple log, pretty environment logger, standard error log, flexi logger. Simple sounds good. Pretty environment logger. Pretty sounds good. What's the pretty log? Logger configured via an environment variable which writes to standard error with nice colored output for log levels. Okay, I'm good with that. Trace debug info warn error. We don't really have a concept of anything except info or error. And then this crate uses environment logger internally. Okay, cool. This seems, it's using the extern crate syntax. Let's go to the crates.io page for it. Really, let's go back. Casual logger, fast log, loggy, simple log, basic log, tracing capabilities. Environment logger, 60 million downloads. Alright, yeah. So add log and environment logger. And then running the executable, specify a value for the Rust log environment variable that corresponds with the log messages you want to show. Okay, so we set environment variable for the log, like for the log level. Does it have a default? I'd like to set the log level in the code. I don't like what we don't really need logging per se. It's what like it's kind of what we're doing, but we really just want to output the steps as they're happening. Let's just write to a file. Whatever. Rust. Write to text file. Let's just do that. Right? We've got file, create, write all, methods. I guess we'll do logging. I mean, that's going to be just as... I don't really want to have this environment variable. It might have... It might have a default. But let's look for... all-time downloads, log, environment logger, tracing, we don't need all that. What was that one we saw before? Simple log. Wait, go to relevance. Yeah, simple logging. Yeah, and you can set the log level in the... We'll simply need to call log to file with the path to the log file and minimum log level. Right. We use log to standard error simply. Great. Let's do this. Simple logging. Almost 4 years ago. That should be fine. Alright, simple logging. What do we do? One message is written per line. Each line also includes the time it was logged, the logging level, and the ID of the thread. Okay, great. and we call this simple logging log2 file. Okay, so let's have this at the top of the interpreter. Right, and then let's have a let's generate a test run log file. Yeah. We'll call this in. Oh yeah, I gotta add log. Right, figure it out. And then we'll call this when we construct the interpreter. Right, and we'll do what? Unused result. That's a result because it's got to open up the file. Simple logging log to file. Yeah, we'll do info. And we'll call it. We don't really have a concept of a script name. Oh, you know what? Got a much better place to put this. Let's put it in the CLI. Let's call simple log. Right? Dot expect failed to init logging. Right, but instead of logging to this, we'll log to format and we'll do the file name that we're running. We probably want to strip the file extension, and then once we do that, so that's going to be file path dot split on the dot file extension, and then get the first argument. Right? Cannot index out of a. We got to collect it. Dot collect 0. Do a vec of strings. I don't know. What can you collect it into? Cool. Say, and then we'll call it log and then let's add the date, and then we'll say .log. So let's do get current date in Rust, get current date time in Rust. This is the thing. This is what programming is. You just Google stuff. You just Google stuff. Chrono date time local now. Chrono local now. Cool. Cargo chrono. Great, and then let's do chrono local now. Right, does that implement display? Let's give it a shot, shall we? Oh, and that needs to go to the current running directory. What happens? And basically we should just be looking for a file to be created. We're not logging anything yet. We should just be looking for a file to be created called test, basically test1 and then the datetime.log. Failed to init logging. File name, directory name, or volume syntax is incorrect. It's probably the date time. Let's undo the date time and let's see if that helps. Right, the idea being that the date time might have a character in it that's not great for file names. So it's running. It created this. Okay, so that worked. Trouble is, file it created is just called .log. What'd I do? What did I do? Tried to split the file path on dot. Right? Should be called test1.log. Why aren't you called test1.log? Because the file path starts with a dot, and so I split on the right. It's not always going to start with. Let's just use the file path, and if it says .sui.log, that's fine actually. That's fine with me. Right, and there it is. Test1.sui.log. That's running. Great. Okay. We also really want this is frustrating, the screenshots, they're saving to us, but the log is saving to the directory, the script is being run from. So we can deal with that later, but let's pick up the pace because we are at 50 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So now we are creating a log. So now what we want to do is in the interpreter we want to use it. So let's use it. A report command should let us log, and then the comments we want to automatically log. So let's do that. And then also when we take a screenshot, we probably want to log a path to the screenshot. So let's do that one first. So when we take a screenshot, let's do, so that's the path string. Let's do info. Path string, yeah. Do you have to be a format string? Yeah. Like that. We'll say screenshot. Like that. Let's do it. Let's run the tests. And maybe we don't need the date time. It's possible I don't really want to produce, I don't know how many of these logs I want to produce. The thing is, this is not meant for programmers. And it's not that a bunch of logs is only good for programmers, it's just that combing through logs is not something non-technical people love to do. So let's look at the log. Okay, so we logged each time we took a screenshot, and we gave we printed the path to that screenshot. Great. It's a relative path. We'll get there. We'll get there. All right. Let's do. Can you log a JPEG? Rust log a JPEG. That's how much I know about logging. No. Okay. So we're doing that. Now what we want to do is we want to do the report command. Now let's think about the report command. The report command takes something to log, but it can take a string or a variable. But we don't have any concept of string interpolation or concatenation, which is troublesome because it doesn't make it very useful, does it? If the comments log themselves, what if we didn't have a report command? Do we really need one? I'm not sure we do. I think it might be better to simply have the comments log themselves. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any instance where we would want to manually call report, because I don't really want to support string manipulation, because that gets programmery really quickly. Yeah, let's not do it. No report command. Unilateral decision. Let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of it in command. Where the heck is command? Here we go. And in the parser, There's no such thing. And down here, right, we don't have a report token anymore. But we do have is a comment token, but it's gonna be different, so we won't even. Yeah, we have no concept of a report command anymore. Great. Okay, the parser's clear. Let's clean up the scanner. There is no more report. Which means, and there is no more report token. Woo! Feels good, like spring cleaning. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to instead support the idea of a comment token, and that comment token will get upgraded to a comment statement, which is separate from a command. And that comment statement, when it's executed, will simply log the comment. So let's have rules, combinators, variables, comments token. So comment token, a comment with an associated string, right? Because the string is going to be the stuff we're commenting. And what we want to do is, rather than, okay, let's fix this. It said no code actions available. Comment with a string. Return the string. All right. What we want to do, I think, rather than trying to read it in down here, when we split on the lines, we have this thing, if we have this part here where we skip it, if it starts with a comment, and I think instead what we want to do is, if it's empty, we'll skip it. Skip white space, and then if statement dot starts with, if it starts with this comment token, then self dot tokens dot push token comment, token type. Oh, we need a token. Ooh. Self dot token. Self dot token, and you take a token type. Token type. Don't know why that held me up for so long. Comment, and then we want to give it the statement string, right? What's your deal? Dot two-owned, right? I can spell. Great, and then we'll continue. Right, rather than split on white space, we'll just push the whole deadgum thing. Okay, now in the parser, we need to deal with advancing on a comment token. If So we advance on any. And here we have click, refresh, try again, screenshot, had error. Now what we want to do is we want to destructure a token type comment with some string inside. We want to return an OK command comment with a string inside. Right? But we need a comment, or not a command. This is parse command. Let's get out of here. Ooh. We want to do this in parse statement. So if we advance on an if we advance on save, else, let's do, gosh, this is a mess. I gotta come back for all this. Else if self.advance on token type comment, right? And we have to do this sort of, right? The idea with this advance on function is that it compares the token types, but we have to construct a token in order to compare the type, or we have to construct this token type variant, and it will ignore the string contents when it's making sure that it's a token type comment, but we still have to give it something to own. If let, and let's do token type comment should literally just have the comment token. So let's destructure else if token type, or else if token let token, and we want the token type to be comment. We want it to be token type comment with some string inside. Can I do that? Expected option token found struct. Oh, some right. Okay. So advance on returns the token, and so we can destructure that, and we can say basically, if we get this comment token with an S inside, we're just going to straight away return. And I know I could have sent the token to some other parse method, but we're going to come back through here and do like a wave over refactoring. We're just going to go ahead and return an OK statement, which is going to be a comment statement. And we'll just have the string in there. Yeah, we'll just have the string in there. And then let's add to statement, let's add comment, which just has a string. Right, let's comment S. We just want to write that string S. And that string should already have the little comment pound sign on top of it, or in front of it. How we do in compiler? And now in the interpreter, it's saying, hey, I don't know what to, you're missing a statement that you're supposed to match on. What do we do with a comment S? And what we do with a comment S is we log it at the info level. Like so. Great. Alright, I think we did it. Let's try it. So we're running. Did you finish running already? Did you not go to the thing? What happened there? Let's check the logs. Okay, so it typed the comments for us. It did not log the screenshots taking place. Navigate to the test URL, type in username, located by type in password, located by placeholder. Click the submit button, screenshot pre and post refresh. But I didn't get the screenshot command, which is upsetting. Wonder if we did it in the scanner. We continue. Alright, let's print the tokens. Let's print the tokens, make sure we're getting all those. Ooh. Oh, we have to do that. My bad. Okay, so now it's running. But we're getting it. We got comment, URL, string, end of line, comment, locate, string, and type. Yeah, so we're getting all the tokens. We're good there. Let's exit out of this. So now, let's print out what we're parsing, shall we? And statements. This one does implement display. We have those nice displaying statements. Great. Let's do that. Yeah, so we're getting the comment statements, but somehow we lost the rest of our statements. So let's look at this. In parser, parse statement, if statement comments, else if if we look at this parse if statement, we parse the command, then we parse command statement. Go to parse command statement. This is interesting. Why are we getting the comments and nothing else? So what we're doing is we're destructuring and we're calling parse statement. Basically, oh hey, we forgot to add end of line. That's it, in the scanner. We got the comment tokens, but we didn't add the end of line token because we hit continue. And so we didn't split on it, and then, yep, okay. There we go. And now in the interpreter, or in lib, let's stop printing out this nonsense. And let's interpret again. There we go. Right, so that executed, right, and then it took our screenshots, right? There's after it did the thing, and there's after it hit refresh. Then if we look at the log, it printed out our comments, and then it logged both the screenshots, all of which happened after this comment. So this is the correct order to log in. Okay, so that's working great. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Let's go to the interpreter. What's next? We've got comments. So we have try again, we have had error, and we have read to. Let's do the error stuff first, because implementing our variables, we're going to want the chance to throw an error if we try to look up a variable that doesn't exist. So let's do the error content first. So now what we need is we, at the very least, need a field called had error. So we need a field called had error, which is a Boolean. We're going to start it at false. You know, we could do this as last error, right? Because the idea is that when part of some command statement errors, we're basically going to skip over the rest of the commands until we get to an error handling line, and then that will tell us what to do to reset, and then we'll have to reverse and go back. So we could just have this as option string, right? The string being the error that we had. And we'll start it off at none. And then the other thing we're going to have is statements since last error, which is going to be a vec of statements, right? Yeah. And then we'll do statements since last error is an empty vec, right? And then we'll do, okay, so that compiles, right? Now let's implement had error. Well, let's do try again. So the idea of try again is that you can combine it with had error, and you can use it to go back to re-execute the last statements you executed. So let's do we have interpret. If it's a command statement, so we have these statements, right? We may have to build this like in here. If set variable comment. Right, so we want to do something like self dot statement since last error dot push statement dot clone, right? We want to do that here, and then we go execute some statements, right? And then an execute command statement result equal execute command statement. So if the command statement returns, right, we want the error out to happen on command statements where you join them with an and, but not on if statements, set variable, or comment. So if the execute command statement returns true, meaning it was successful, then maybe we might go on to the other one. But if it does not return true, right, if that command statement failed, then what we want to do, we want to have some sort of message for the error. So this is where proper error handling starts to come in. So maybe we can have execute command can return we're sort of doing this in a weird way. We could have these lower functions return result and bubble up the error, because a command statement is only ever going to be one line. Yeah, I like that. We could also, so the idea before was to have a had error and like last error, but we could have these. Yeah, let's do it. Let's have like a result. We don't actually want anything if it succeeds, but we do want a message about the error, right? And so now each of these will need to return a possible error, but what we'll do is we'll say that's now a result string. So we'll say if let error s equal, and then we'll execute the left hand side. right? If that errored, then we're going to want to handle that error. But if it did not error, then we want to execute the right-hand side. And a command statement can also cause an error. So, command statement will call this again, and so, right, okay. Great. So here we want to say self dot last error equals some s. Why do we store the last error? Why don't we immediately log it? I think the idea before was that we would have a report keyword. We would want to manually report the error status and then do something else. But I think we can just sort of log the error and then have had error be a Boolean. Yeah. Let's actually let that error equal false or less. Let's rename this to add error false. We'll call this a Boolean. What I want to do instead is basically this is an error. That string. Oh, what is it? Warn. Info warn log. Is it not error? What are the log levels? Yeah, they're all the same. The log level's not in this crate. It's in the crate log. I know it's like everywhere, but docs, macros, log message written, level error warn info debug trace. So should I not be able to call error with right? Am I crazy? No, it's not that. We'll say warn. We'll say warn, and I'll figure out soon enough what in the heck. I only incorporated info log only hold on. Can I bring in error? Yeah. Great. Now let's error. I thought it was going crazy there for a second. Okay, awesome. Now now what we need to do is, first of all, let's have these report errors that are relevant. So you need to return a result string, right? And we'll say instead of false, we'll say okay. I will say error. And here the error is we could not locate the element, right? Okay, locator. So could not locate the element. To great. Let's get rid of this nonsense. This whole rigmarole, right? And what we'll do instead is we'll say let locator equal that method and then propagate an error, because the resolve function will now return an error string. Great, that works now. Right, basically the idea being that if the variable's not defined, then we can just set that error there and then return it, and then we can get rid of all this if self.resolve else. So let URL equal self.resolve URL. Great. This needs to return a result with a string error. Again, we do not intend to keep these. Once we have an idea of all the errors we can run into, then we will create custom error types. And you want to do this. Dot map error. I don't care what your error said. We're going to say error navigating to page. Cool. Owned. Great. And then in this one, set current element. Set current element needs to return a result string. And what we're going to do is we're going to say wait dot map error scrolling web element into view. Great, and instead of saving whether or not that element was in view, we're just going to propagate the error if there was one. And then we're going to set the current element, and then we're going to say okay. Yeah. Right, so the locate all works now. You need to be false. Great. Okay, let's look at type into elements. Okay, we want you to return a result string, and so we're going to basically take the current element and we're going to send it those keys, but instead of doing all this crap, we're going to say let's current element equals self dot current element dot map. Let's map error. And we may come back and use these Selenium errors for context, but for the moment, I don't think we're going to. Current element is an option, so there's no method map error on it. What we want to do is we want to say okay or and upgrade it. Okay or, and we'll say no element currently in focus. Try using the locate command. Great. And then we're going to say we're going to send keys, and then we're going to map on the error error typing into elements. We'll come back and make these, we'll make these format strings with the current element or what have you. And then we can get rid of all this. Oh, we need to resolve that text. Okay, so and then let's text equal dot resolve, and that should already return the correct error. Keys for results. So this is a result. But what we can do is we can propagate the error we made. Let's clone it first. Can we borrow it? Okay, so this is let's clone. Do that. Great. Great. Okay, let's do click. Click is down here. Yeah, we want to do the same thing. So we want to do let's just do this in a getter. So this right here. So we have a setter for the current element. We have set current element, right? And basically that that will return the error if we have trouble scrolling the element into view. Let's do an async function get current element. That actually just needs self. Just and self. And what we want to do is actually upgrade this to a results web element string. by doing this. Okay, or, right? We can do self.current element, we try to clone it. And then we turn that into an error if there is no current element. And that way, down here, we can just do self.getCurrentElement. Yeah. Implement try. Get current element does implement try. Or the return value of it does. Oh, it's async, but it sure doesn't need to be, does it? There we go. Self.getCurrentElement. Great. Do we do that anywhere else? That sort of could not locate element. No. Don't appear to. Great. Navigating to page. Alright, we're cleaning things up here. Click. Yeah, we don't need to do all this. We can just have this out here. And we can say self.getCurrentElement. We can get rid of all this. What's your problem? Expected and web element. Yeah. Oh, and this needs to return a results string. Great. And you can just say map error. Error. Error clicking elements. Right? Cool. Okay, so we have refresh and screenshot left. Refresh. Need to return a result string. And you can say map error. Error refreshing page. Owned. Great, and screenshot instead of is okay. We'll do. I don't think the rest of it's fallible yet. And map error. Ooh. Error taking screenshot. Ooh, oh yeah, you need to return a result string. Okay, so all of those methods have been enriched with sort of error handling. And basically the execute command statement will now return this result with a string describing the error. And so if execute command returns an error, we can set had error to true. We can log the error. And then what we need to do is nothing. Because now, because we might not want to do anything about the error. We might just want to keep going. Oh no, we want to go to the next place where they check if we've had an error. This is interesting. Okay. Woo. Let's check that this is working. So first let's check that this still works. Right? The idea is that that doesn't have any errors. Okay, that worked like a charm. We look at the log, navigate, type in username, type in password, click the submit button, screenshot, pre and post refresh. Great. Let's do the same script, but this time I'm gonna switch these around. Oops, I was typing too fast. Now the idea is that it should produce the error for locating the password, but it should short circuit and not try to execute the type command. So we should get an error about the password, but hopefully the type command won't execute. If it does, it will probably try to execute against the username field, which in our case, maybe if we have an error, we want to set current element to none. That may be something we want to do. But let's do that. Right, so it did test at test.com, and now what's happening is it's basically timing out because it's looking for passwoder instead of password. So it shouldn't take too long to time out. I think I set the timeouts to, let's see here, for locate, yeah, 0 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and 35 seconds. And the only one that actually waits for that timeout is this one. I actually need to move that to the top, but basically we should only wait a total of 45 seconds. Yeah, and you can see it already ended. So we should have an error. Yeah, could not locate the element. Right, so when we tried to type in password, it could not locate the element. Awesome. Yeah, we may want more context. We may say like by locator or whatever. Or we may print out an error with the command as the context, like we did with the token as the context before. But anyway, okay, so that's working. And let's do this. So before we had this, let's replace that with a no wait. And let's do this, no wait, with that. Great. Yeah, okay. So we have this error. Now what we want to do is, where are we at time-wise? 1:45, not bad. Now what we want to do is start storing the previous commands, and we'll implement try again to have this concept of walk back, and we'll have where right now we have had error simply printing out the error and not short-circuiting that statement. We need to think about our semantics a little bit, right? Do we want to execute the next statement, or do we want to go directly to... I think we want to execute the next statement. I think we want to short circuit the rest of the statement, but I think we want to execute the next line. Yeah, so I think when I'm going to pause it and make a cup of tea and come back, and when I do, we'll implement try again. See you in a sec. All right, I'm back. Ooh, goodness. Cup of tea number 2. It's quite hot, but quite delicious. And let's keep going. So we've managed to error, and we've managed to record when we have an error. And when we do have an error, the command statement that we're working with will short circuit. Quick pause. The dog always finds something loud to play with. Okay. Anywho, we managed to record when we had an error. We print out what that error was, and if we had an error, we short circuit the statement. I was going to have it skip I was thinking I would have it skip all the way down to the next error handling, sort of like try catch behavior, but I don't necessarily think I want that. I think instead I just want the statement to short circuit, and then for it to keep going until we try and handle an error. So here's what I mean. So this is a great example, right? So we navigate to the test URL, we typed in the username, we tried to type in the password, but that statement produced an error. I think I want it to keep going unless I tell it explicitly not to. Well, actually, do I? Right, because then it's clicking a submit button. Yeah, I think I want it to. I think I want it to jump down. See, the jump down's the hard part, because what we want to do, say we have this script, right? Let's say we have all this, and then we had handle errors, and then it said something like if had error, then refresh and try again, right? And then we error here. I think I want this to operate like a try catch, and I want it to go up to the last group of statements. The problem with that is we don't have a had error at the top. Right? We don't necessarily, well, I guess we do want it to navigate to the URL again, don't we? right? If we want to do some sort of reset, we can do it down here. Maybe we should have a concept of like a breakpoint. I don't know. Again, see, we have to be so careful, because if we get too complicated, then it becomes complicated enough that you might as well just use Python, right? We want to keep it so simple and straightforward. We want to think, what is the most straightforward way to handle an error in this situation? What if you put it on the end of a statement? What if you had a particular step that was brittle for some reason, and if it failed, you pretty much just wanted to try it again? What if you had something like this? Ooh. And if header, that's interesting, because that would try to parse the right hand side as a command statement. That's an interesting. People would want to say, and if had error, then try again. Maybe. I still like the idea of being able to try a chunk of commands again, though. So something like that. If had error, then try again. I mean, I guess that would navigate to the yeah, so let's do this. I was kind of hoping that would bring to mind an idea. When we have an error, what do we do at the moment? Right now, if we have an error, we set had error to true, and we log it. And we're keeping track of all the statements since we last had an error. I don't know. I don't know what to do in this case. The idea basically was let statements equal self dot statement since last error dot clone. And then we could self dot statement since last error dot clear and then we could self dot, well, I guess we don't want to call interpret. Well, no, interpret's fine because the constructor is where the driver gets instantiated. So we would call self.interpret on the statements, right? So the idea is that we would just re-execute the statements we had since the last time we had an error, or since the last time we handled an error, really. We can rename this symbol statements since last error handling, right? Since the last time we handled an error. But we would want to do this at a try again command, because we might not want to try again. We might just want to, what are our options if we had an error? There's no more report command. The error is automatically reported. We can continue, or we can try again. So really the only purpose of the had error flag at the moment is to be able to say try again, or possibly say take a screenshot. We might want to have it default to taking a screenshot on an error, but so let's try and scroll ahead to the next. So this is what we're going to do for try again, right? So on try again, we have self dot try again now wait, right? And so we can have pub async function try again and read self. That's all it takes. Yep. And this is basically going to do this. It's going to extract the statement since we last had an error. It's going to self dot, it's going to clear them, and then it's going to interpret, it's going to basically redo the statements we did since the last time we had an error, and then when that returns, it should continue interpreting from there, right? The idea is that when we scroll, so on the had error function, or when we encounter an error, we need to scroll down to the next time we get a had error statement. Basically, rather than execute commands, just push them to our statements that we want to execute until we reach a had error command, I guess. Really, until we reach an if had error. Maybe had error shouldn't be a command. Maybe it should be its own statement, right? Maybe we should remove it from this idea of commands, and we should have it be its own statement. So we could have something like catch, right? Catch error. And but we don't necessarily want to have this concept of if some error occurred, because we don't want to keep executing things when an error occurred. We can say catch error and refresh, basically clean up, and try again. Right? Let's try and do that. Let's try and do something like that. So we'll have handle errors, and that will be easier for us to realize when we've come upon it, because it will be a sort of top-level statement. So this has to start back in the scanner, really. Let's call this catch error. Yeah. So in the scanner, let's replace had error token. Let's rename that the catch error token, and it's going to look like that. Do we want to maybe right now the syntax is catch error and refresh. Try again. We could do something like this, right? And then that would be a command statement. Basically, we can just give it a command statement to, yeah, I like that. Okay. And try again. Ooh. What if we gave it a maximum number of times? We could say like 2 times, right? We'd have to start parsing. We'd have to start parsing numbers, but that would be handy. Let's set the maximum 1 time right now, and we'll consider adding that later. Okay. So in the scanner, we have this thing catch error, and it is a, when we scan it, it's a catch error token, but it's going to have that as well. So let's give it that. Okay, so that should be working, right? Yeah, so then we can go into the parser, and we can say there is no longer a in command. there is no longer a had error command. Right? And let's see what that breaks. Right, here we go. It's no longer that. Right, and down here is where we were parsing the had error command. Catch error, okay, command had error. Great. What's your problem? Interpreter had error, right? Right, there is no longer a command called had error. Great. Instead, in the parser, what we need to get is we need a catch error statement. We have a command statement, a new statement, set variable statement, a comment. We need a catch error. Which has, we'll make a struct of it, catch error statement. And a catch error statement should be very straightforward. Error statement. It should have, first of all, it should derive these. It should have a command statement to execute if there was an error, right? It should have a command statement. Command statement. Right, and so what we want to do is parse that. Catch error command statement. We'll just write the command statement. But we'll write catch error and then write the command statement. Okay. Catch error statement. Uh-oh, this is a catch error statement. Do we need to wrap it up like that? No, I don't think so. Let's not even wrap it up. Let's just have a command statement, right? The only difference here is that we execute the command statement on the caught error before, no, we just execute it, and it can include try again. Okay, we need to parse one of these things now. If this is going to be in parse statement, token if is sum, if let's comment, made a mistake earlier, I want to make sure I don't make the same mistake, I can't remember what it was. My comments weren't parsing. I don't remember why. Oh, because I failed to push end of line, right. That should not be a problem here, right? Because this is being, I didn't add anything funky to the scanner. So let's say else if let some token, basically I want this. Else if let some token type, but I want it to be a catch error token. equal self dot advance on a catch error token, right? If we advance on a catch error token, oh, and I don't need to pull anything out of here, so I can just is some then what we want to do is we want to parse a command statement let statement equal self.parse command statement, right? Because there's going to be a command statement to the right, basically. And then we want to return, okay, statement catch error with the command statement to execute on the error. Catch error statement. Sure do have a catch error. It takes a command statement. So what's your... Oh, it's called catch error. There we go. Okay, so now we have that. Presumably we are parsing catch error statements. And what we want to do now is fix this. Catch error command statement. This is interpret. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, if we catch an error, we want to set self.add error. No, okay, so the catch error statement gets, we walk to it. It's not something that we run into naturally. Well, it is. It is something we run into naturally, isn't it? If we don't have any errors. So we could say if self.had error, right? If we didn't have an error, we're just going to do nothing and keep going. But if we did have an error, then what we want to do is we want to execute the command statement that was provided, right? I can't error there. Luckily, execute command statement does not return an error. Great. Okay. So now when we run into a catch error statement, if we had an error, then we should execute the statement. So this is the behavior where we'll keep executing, but if we had an error, then we'll stop and try again. So let's run that to show that. So right now the idea is we would navigate to this URL, we type the username successfully, we will fail to execute this, right? And then if we had some, let me move this down so you can see. So we will fail to execute the password, and then we will still click the button, right? And then what we can do is we can say and screenshot to show that we have the to show that we did actually click the button. And then we would do the catch error command, which in this case is going to be refresh and try again. But instead of refresh and try again, I'm going to say refresh and type, and I'm going to do, actually not refresh, I'm going to do the rest of this statement. Right, I know that that's just going to error, so I want to fix it like that. So we should go to the URL, type the username successfully, fail to type the password, click the button, and we'll take a screenshot with that errored state. And then when we run into the catch error, because we did have an error, it's going to retype the password correctly for us. That's what should happen. Let's see if it does that. The last bit of T. All right, so you can see we navigate. It's going to time out in 45 seconds on this password field, but then it should still click the button and take a screenshot. Right, so it clicked the button, took a screenshot, and then because it caught an error, it did the correct command, which filled it out. And so if we go look at screenshot 1, you should see it has where it wasn't able to type into the password field. That's not bad behavior. I don't dislike that. But I think what I want to do is let's try and have it skip down to the next catch error statement. All right? So in the interpreter, when we run this command statement, if it has an error, let's say while let's let's loop, right? What we want to do is we want to go to the next catch error statement. So let's loop. Let next statement equal we don't store the statements on the interpreter. We pass them in to the interpret function. Should we store them on the interpreter? It's okay. It's okay. Sorry, Eloise is barking at something. What are you barking at? Are we under attack? Are we under attack? I think it's okay. I think we're good. Anywho. What's this about? No method execute command statement found for mutable reference. Oh, it's because we're erroring out here. So we want to pop the commands. Let's have execute command statement. I guess take the rest of the statements, right? Statements, and that's going to be, we're going to give it a mutable reference to that vec. Right, so we'll say execute command statement and mute statements. Can I do that? No, we turned it into an iter. So that should yell at me. Yeah. It's not wait. Cannot bar statements as mutable as it is not declared as mutable. Is that really what you're mad about? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we can't do that, really. The reason we need the statements is because we want to drain the statements until we get to the next catch error. We also want to push the statements we drain onto the statement since last error so that we know what to repeat. So right now we're storing statements on statements since last error handling, and the idea is we'll use the interpreter to interpret those and then pick up where it left off. But so maybe this can return a result. Or really it just needs a Boolean flag to let interpret know to go back. We run into this with if, set, comment, catch. command statement. We could set a flag. So we could, I mean, we have a flag, had error, right? And so we could say for statement and statements.intoIter, push the statement, if not self.hadError. If we've not yet had an error, then we want to execute like normal. Else, we want to match on statement. And if it's a statement catch error with that command statement inside, then we want to execute the execute the command statement inside, self.execute command statement .await. Otherwise it's just some other kind of statement. Then we want to self.statement since last error handling .push that statement. But then we want to self.hadError equals false because we've handled it, right? So the idea is once we flag that we've had an error, which we do here, the interpret command will no longer execute statements normally. Instead, it will simply look at the statement, and if we made it to the catch error statement, then it will execute the sort of let's set hadError to false first, right? Because we've got that, and then it will execute the fix commands, which might include a try again command. Otherwise, it will simply push the statement to the statement since the last error handling. And then finally what we want to do is we want to self.statement since last error handling .clear. And then that would happen after try again statement, right? Because the try again statement will be triggered by this execute command statement. So the idea here is that, and then if we reach a catch error statement organically, it's technically possible. We shouldn't reach it organically, right? Because I mean, we can reach it and not have had an error, but if we have an error, then hadError should be set, and this should never execute. So theoretically, this if statement will never, theoretically, this execute command statement will never execute. I think. So let's see what happens. So this time what we should see last time what we saw was that this got filled out, and then the password errored, but then the submit button was clicked, and we took a screenshot of it, and then we went back and fixed it. This time, right, I won't even do the go back and fix it. We'll say catch error. Ooh, what if they... I guess we'll go back and fix it. But this time, after we fix it, we'll look at the screenshot, and the screenshot should show that it skipped this this command. In fact, it shouldn't even log this. Let's do it. Woo, fingers crossed. Okay, so here we are. Oh, that's the old one. There's the new one. Should have closed that other one out. Okay, so you see it typed test@test.com, and now it's going to spend 45 minutes not finding the element it's looking for, not finding the password element, and then hopefully it never clicks the submit button. Hey Eloise, you want to come watch with us? Be my good luck charm. Hey. Thank you. Thank you for the licks. It's very nice of you. Your breath smells bad. Yes, it does. Look at the camera. Look. It's your language. It's Schnauzer UI. Let's see how it does. Alright. So it finished executing, it fixed this. It still clicked submit. If we look at the log, type in username, type in password, could not locate the... Oh no, it just never replaced that screenshot. Right, so let's delete this. Alright, get out of here. Go be crazy. So if we look at... So after erroring out, it never did anything else. Okay? So what's the deal here? We error on execute command statement fails to run, right? Or it causes an error, right? This self.execute command should return an error. So it sets self.hadError to true and it logs the error. We did that. Now, once that finishes, right? So this finished. We should go to the next statement in statements.intuitor. We push a clone of it. This time we've had an error. So we look at the statement and it's not a catch error, right? The next one is not a catch error. The next statement should be the comment statement actually. So we just push it and go to the next statement, and then we push it and go to the next statement, and eventually we hit this catch error statement, right? Which should execute. Maybe we made a mistake in the scanner or the parser. Let's find out. In the lib, let's comment this out, and let's print the tokens first. For token and tokens, print line token. Oh, right, I always forget. Should really implement display for token. Okay, so here's what we got. Comment, end of line, URL, the URL, end of line, comment, end of line, locate, password, end of line, passworder, and type, 3 variable. Oh, what's going on here? On line 8, we have a variable empty string. Token type variable empty string. Where'd that come from? You have that again? Here, after this, we appear to be parsing was that it? Was that split on white space? Let's do in the scanner. Yeah, I don't like that empty variable nonsense. There's another one, right? For statement and self dot source dot dot is empty. Lines. If statement dot trim that starts with push an end of line, continue. Statement dot trim dot split. Let's see if that gets rid of our variables on the end there. Line comment, locate string, username, and type string, test.test.com. String, password, and type, comment, line string, and click, comment, without catch error. Locate. Right, so no more weird variables, so maybe that was the issue. Right, let's see if that fixed it. Stop messing with things, Eloise. Come here. I know it's a long video and you want to play. Come here. Let's see, 239. How we doing over here? Okay, and then test.test.com. Just like last time. Hey, Eloise. We're trying to make something useful. Yeah. Right, there we go. We finished. We did not take a screenshot. The log says cannot locate element. Okay, so it wasn't that. Although I'm kind of mad that didn't produce an error. I've got to go back and figure out what's going on there. But the tokens do appear to be correct, right? So let's look at the commands we're getting. So in lib, or not the commands, the statements we're parsing. For statements and statements dot iter. Print that sweet, sweet statement. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we get the comment, navigate, the comment, locate, the comment, locate, the comment, locate, comment, and then we get the handle, we get the catch error statement. Locate password and type password 123. Okay, so we are parsing correctly. All right, so it's something in the interpreter. Let's find out what we did. The last thing that executed was this locate failed. And when it failed, when this command statement, because that's what that is, it's a command statement. When that failed, it set had error to true. So that on the next go around, this is what would execute. And so we did not print the next comment. We did not locate, submit, and click screenshot. We did not do the handle errors comment. We did, and then we should have, because we got a catch error statement, we should have executed this. We should have said self.hadError equals false, self.execute command statement, .await, and then self.statements since last error handling clear. Oh, wait a minute. We want to execute the command statement for it. Yeah, we want to execute the command statement for it, which for us is locate password and type password 123. There's no error. Oh, I'm getting tired. We did that. We located the password and we typed 123. We just didn't tell it to try again. Whew. Whew. Right? Oh, but the issue, it's not supposed to take a screenshot. Okay. Okay. Yeah, there was no issue. I'm insane. Woo! We'll hopefully edit that out. Okay, let's continue. Now let's implement try again. So instead of and type password 123, let's just say try again, right? And we'll say screenshot and try again. Great, so it should fail twice, produce 2 screenshots. Interpreter, we need to come here and do try again. We have a method called try again, which says let statements equal, oh my gosh, has it been working this whole time? If I've been that tired this whole time, this is a warning. This is a warning to the nighttime programmers. Just don't go too long. Take breaks. Short durations. Let's see what it does. All right. Hold on to your fur, Eloise. Let's hope it fails twice. Oh, there we go. Failed. Now it's on the second round. Hello, audience. Okay, and then it failed and try again, and we're caught in an infinite loop. Okay. And we got screenshots. Great. Okay, now we had discussed, oh yeah, that advice I gave earlier about not programming for too long, taking breaks and coming back. We're ignoring that. Now that we're doing that, we had discussed setting a limit of one time for trying again, right? We'll let it try again once, and then if that doesn't work, we could just exit completely. I think that's probably the best move, actually. The idea is that these scripts would be fairly short. And then later on, I mean, trying something 3 times, you don't really want to do that. Yeah, I think after trying again once, let's exit. So let's have tried again, Boolean. Tried again starts off as false, and then we'll say down here, right, if we had an error, so the idea is we want to be able to try again once, but we want to reset if it's successful. Eloise, cut that out. You always go for the loudest object while I'm on these videos. This is my whiteboard. Okay. In try again, let's say self.tried again equals true, right? And then here's the deal. We go back and we execute the rest of the statements. right? That's what interpret statements here does. And then it will pick up where it left off. And so if we get here, without self dot, we interpret the previous statements, right? So now we need to figure out, where does this get called? Try again gets called, and when you reach a... Once we do this, if we get through it successfully without encountering an error, we want to set try it again back to false. But I don't know how to, since none of these return an error, I'm not exactly sure how to tell if we had an error for statement and statements.into_iter clone self.had error. I guess we can check self.had error, right? Because when we call try again, we should really reset self.had error, should we not? We're doing that here. Self.had error equals true. If the execute command returns an error, we set self.had error equals true. Do we ever set it? We set it back to false in the catch error statement, right? So when we catch the error, we set it to false, and then we start executing the rest of that command, which would include the try again. So self.had error should be false. So if after we interpret the statements, if self.had error, and we really want to exit the program, which would involve returning from the interpret statement. So we could bubble up that information. We could return a Boolean to let us know whether or not we should completely exit. So we could say this is okay self.had error, and then try again. Execute command can return that Boolean, and the rest of these will be we'll say okay false down here, right? Well, we want to propagate these errors, right? We can't because they're returning tuple, and I mean they could return a Boolean, but they don't really need to. So rather, we should probably just map to say false, right? So we could say on all these that are erroring now, you know, maybe we'll refactor this. We could just say dot map and we'll just say false, right? Yay. Okay. So the idea here is that instead of infinitely looping, when it fails on the second go round, it should just exit. So what I'm going to do to make that execute faster is I'm going to remove the 30-second wait. So let's do this. Let's go with this. Oh, you know what? I did not finish that at all. Right? What I want to actually do, now that execute command returns a result Boolean, we can say else if let okay true, let's do this. Let's say match self.execute command left hand side. If we get, come on now, you know there's code actions available, give them to me. Oh my gosh. If we get the error with that string value, then we want to do all this good stuff. If we get an OK with a true, meaning we're indicating that we want to fully return, then we want to return, we want to bubble up that Boolean flag, and we'll say we want to return true, right? And here we want to say false, and then finally, if we get an OK false, then we want to do this stuff. Right? If there's a right-hand side, we want to execute it. Right, just like that. Expected bool found, execute command statements. As a matter of fact, execute command statement returns, else false, right? Expected, why do you, oh, because this, there we go. Okay, and now we have this execute command statement. My dog is eating my shoelaces right now. And we finally get execute command. Let's return let's say if execute command statement, then return, right? And we want to do that pretty much every time we call execute command statement. which is upsetting. We might want to have a function called execute statement. Sync execute statement. Function that takes a new self and a statement and returns a Boolean and says basically this stuff. Right? And then we can just return that Boolean. Oh, wait, sorry. That was silly. Hold on. So I'll return that Boolean. If we had an error, we want to execute the command statement and results from that. Otherwise, we want to return false so that we don't error. This expects a Boolean, so what I need to do is log and then return false. My dog is literally eating my leg right now. Eloise, why do you hate my legs so much? The video is almost over. This is all for you and you have no idea. I know. Okay. No, these are my nicest pants. Cut it out. We're almost done. We'll do variables next time. Look. And then down here, if we catch an error, we set self.had error to false, we execute the command statement, we clear the result, and then basically if execute command statement fails, then we would want to, if that returns a Boolean saying that we need to return, then we would want to return, right? So let's do it. If return true, we can say true. Otherwise, she is actually attacking me right now. False. Eloise, you cannot ruin these. No, ma'am. False. Finally, if it's some other statement, just want to push the statement and return false. Stop. Stop, Eloise. You're driving me crazy. And then now in interpret, we simply say if self.execute statement return, right? And we have to await it. I'm not going to feed you if you keep acting like this. That's not true. I will feed her. Okay, let's see if it works. Come here, you crazy dog. Look at this. Here we go running. Just trying once. Just trying twice. It's trying 3 times. We failed. Updates in the next video. See you then.